Rambies, you guys, welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman. Y'all, I'm going to try to do this with a straight face, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I'm your host, April Chapman. Welcome to today's show. All right. Today's show, y'all, we got to talk about the former New Orleans parish sheriff. Her name is Susan Hutson. And y'all, this story right here, this is DEI theology colliding headfirst with reality. I don't know how many more times we get to go through this for us to be like, you know what, we really should stop hiring these people based on their intersectionality boxes that they check. But y'all, the collision of this one was so catastrophic. Y'all, even the inmates are like, listen, if nobody else is in charge around here, we might as well just leave. We're going to take matters in our own hands with bad grammar and all, and we're going to bust out this joint. Literally, that is what happened.
Was booked into and released from the Jefferson Parish Jail tonight, indicted on 30 felonies.
Most of the charges allege Sheriff Susan Hutson failed to do her job and keep inmates behind bars related to last year's jailbreak. Andres Fuentes spoke with a crime watchdog about what's next for the sheriff's office.
But we start with Jennifer Crockett, who is live at the Jefferson Parish Jail in Gretna.
Instead of running the Orleans Parish Jail tonight, Sheriff Susan Hutson turned herself in here to the Jefferson Parish Correctional Center in Gretna. She's since bonded out, but that's as the Attorney General's office continues to build a case against the sheriff. Wednesday, the Attorney General's office secured 30 felony indictments from a grand jury. Nearly half allege Sheriff Susan Hutson failed to do her job, while the rest accuse her of trying to cover up crimes connected to the 2025 jailbreak. Earlier this month, AG Liz Murrell talked to us about related safety, staffing, and financial failures outlined in a report by the legislative auditor.
The auditor's report raises a number of concerns that we've talked about from the very beginning. Just the fact that there were not enough people that were certified, post-certified at the jail. There's a large population of violent offenders that are being held in pretrial detention. Many of those already have pre-existing charges or convictions.
Bianca Brown, the sheriff's chief financial officer, faces 20 similar counts. Hutson is a Tulane Law School graduate who spent much of her career in police oversight. Political analyst Joe Responti weighing in on the indictment.
Being a lawyer or being a sheriff of a jail, she's supposed to know these things too. She's supposed to be the person that keeps everybody in, and if they get out, it helps everybody figure out why they got out. And it sounds like maybe she failed on both of those counts, but once again, this indictment didn't tell you a whole lot of facts.
Both Murrell's indictment and the auditor's earlier investigation looked back to 2022 when Hutson took office, focusing on the May 2025 jailbreak. That's when 10 inmates jerked open jail cells that were supposed to be locked, pulled out plumbing, and ran. The auditor finding failures led to the escape. The inmate population increased by nearly 50% from 2022 to 2025, while staff to supervise those inmates only rose 7%. Cell block security patrols were skipped about 70% of the time during the week of the jailbreak. The auditor also outlined potential financial and constitutional violations, including over 1,300 allegations of potential payroll fraud. And they uncovered over $1 million in payments to replace cell locks without getting a public bid. Murrell said she agreed with the auditor's findings, and a federal probe could also be in the works.
Denying people the right to the public services that they were entitled to is part of what the federal government can do, but we can also look at that as a state law matter.
If federal charges are added in this case, that would be an entirely new set of charges and indictment. She's currently facing these 30 felony state charges, and she's expected in court at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Bag, John?
Jennifer, did the sheriff give any hint that she expected these charges?
Well, we haven't heard directly from her today, but she did give a farewell press conference yesterday. This is the final week of her term as Orleans Parish Sheriff. And she said that we didn't have the whole big picture about the jailbreak in that press conference yesterday, but there's absolutely no indication that she knew she was going to be indicted on 30 felony charges today.
So first of all, let's talk about this historic DEI hire. She's a melanated Marxist-minded Negro. Her name is Susan Hutson. And y'all, the people elected this woman. They elected her. The media celebrated her endlessly. Oh, it was historic. She's breaking barriers. She is the progressive reformer that we need. Y'all, the first. Y'all know it counts for something when you say it's the first. She was the first Black female sheriff in the whole state. And y'all listen, there is nothing wrong with being Black. I actually enjoy being Black. And even better, there's nothing wrong with being a female. I happen to enjoy being a female. I am both. I'm Black and I'm a woman. But honey, this identity stuff, your identity is not a qualification. Just because you have ovaries, it does not make you competent. In fact, the estrogen, and y'all gonna say this is sexist and misogynistic, but I really don't care. It's the estrogen is part of the reason why I just don't believe women need to be in these positions. Period. There's so many other better things that we could be doing, but listen, having ovaries doesn't make you any more competent than having melanin doesn't make you capable. Just because you being in a position is historic, it doesn't mean that you're going to be effective. The question should never be, what boxes does this person check? Right? Like the question should always be, can this person actually lead and do the job well? And apparently, if you ask that question, the answer in this case was no, because according to the reports, y'all, Susan Hutson, this woman had no substantial jail management experience before taking over the position. Like she was in policing from I think it was like an oversight perspective, but that didn't matter. No, the progressive activists, they love this woman because she checked all of the ideological boxes. She was female, check. Black, check. Progressive reform language, she used a lot of that. Check, check, check. This woman was also anti-police activist. She had an anti-police activism background. Check. Y'all, that is the modern Democrat formula. I told y'all, a Democrat heaven is an American hell, and they don't hire based on competence. You can guarantee that much. They hire based on the symbolism, right? It's just about how it made you feel, not about how effective and competent you are.
The great psychiatrist Carl Jung said, "It is not what happens to me, it's what I choose to become."
I'm not trying to scare nobody, but we are in danger.
In Slavery is a Choice, we ask the question, do you choose to be free or do you choose to be a slave?
So you feel like a victim?
I'm a victim. I'm a victim of white supremacy.
And so are they holding you back financially?
Well, they can.
Most Black people sit at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America because we still deal with the same slave mentality that says, I had no choice.
Those of us that now insist that we're no longer being oppressed and that it's ourselves that are now our worst enemies are in fact gullible, naive, and are ignorant of the true reality.
If you walk around saying that you're oppressed, you're not a man. And you're not an American. When you say you're oppressed, I'm saying you're an heir of Jesus Christ, you're a child of God. Nobody can oppress you.
Our religious heritage is rooted in the regrettable experience of slavery.
And I'm scared. Scared.
When you talk about the vestiges of slavery, that is the vestige of it. A mentality that says, I cannot change my plight. I cannot change my life. I have no choice. The man who says he is free and the man that says he is a slave are both correct. Slavery is a choice.
I don't know why everybody acts shocked when the bridge to all of this foolishness, when it finally collapses, the city burns down, the criminals escape, the whole budget just disappears into another nonprofit black hole. All of this is what happens when your feelings replace some basic minimum standards. Y'all, this is what happens when representation becomes way more important than results. This is what you get. So, y'all know I love telling a good story. Y'all got to tell y'all a story about the jailbreak of the circus kingdom, the incarceration escape that happened under this woman's watch. We have got to talk about this jail escape because y'all, this thing, it don't even sound real. Like, we take a look at this. It don't even look real.
Right now, there's a massive manhunt underway as police search for 9 inmates who escaped from a jail in New Orleans. Officials believe the inmates may have gotten help from inside the sheriff's department. 10 total inmates escaped the Orleans Parish Jail, but one has already been captured. Another inmate believed to have escaped was actually found in another cell. Officials discovered the inmates were missing this morning, but now police say they escaped around midnight. All of the men are accused of violent crimes. At least one of them has been convicted of murder, and another faces a second-degree murder charge. New photos from inside the jail show a toilet ripped from the wall and handwritten messages saying "too easy" and "we innocent." The sheriff says the inmates escaped through the hole, climbed a jail wall, and ran across the interstate.
Some of the infrastructure, some of the fixtures were removed. We know that this could not be removed from the inside, so we are investigating that to see exactly who entered these areas, what kind of work was done, if there was work being done, and if this is an inside job.
Investigators say the inmates were able to get out of their cells because the locks were defective.
Y'all, 10 inmates escaped.
Flag on the play.
10! Not one, not two, 10. 10 inmates escaped. 10 human beings escaped from a correctional facility, and allegedly, y'all, these inmates, y'all know how they got out? A hole behind the toilet. A toilet, y'all. What was this facility being monitored by? The Three Blind Mice, Security, Acme Incorporated? Like who was in charge of ensuring that the lockdown was locked down and that the inmates were where they were supposed to be? How does this happen? Y'all, it took hours before the staff realized that these inmates were gone. Hours. What kind of jail is this? At that point, all of these inmates, they were probably at the Popeyes ordering spicy tenders before anybody noticed. This is how incompetent this woman was. Y'all, the reports got even crazier than that. The state auditors, do you know they found out? They found out that there are thousands of required security checks that under this woman's leadership were either missed or improperly documented. Basically, people weren't doing their job. She wasn't doing her job, and she wasn't ensured that the people who had jobs was doing what they were supposed to do. So according to investigators, there was allegedly all of these warnings signaling that this chick don't know what she's doing for years. Years, meaning this wasn't a one-off. Oh, they just caught her on a bad day. No, this was incompetence stacked on top of negligence, wrapped up in progressive arrogance. It's the audacity of these women to think, you're going to question my leadership? Yes, your outcomes are trash. Y'all, the modern left keeps trying to feminize and legitimize through feminine leadership every institution of authority while simultaneously demonizing masculinity and strength and the things that are required for a well-ordered society, all of the order and the discipline and the enforcement that men bring to a culture. They want to demonize that. And are you shocked? Are you now shocked why chaos broke out at this jail? I'm sorry, y'all. I ain't never been to jail, but from what I've heard, a jail is not a drum circle. Okay, it's not some sort of therapy retreat where we go and talk about our feelings. It's not a social justice workshop. It's a correctional facility that houses dangerous people. And if you got dangerous people under your watch, you need strong leadership. And I'm sorry, I don't care how much of a female she is, she ain't it. Okay, you need leadership, accountability, a whole lot of discipline and structure. And that's what men do. Okay, but progressives, in their mind, they think, well, everything can just be solved with a little sensitivity training. And if we just provide the appropriate level of emotional support, that we can reform and be in charge of this facility and everything's going to be okay. Meanwhile, the inmates are crawling through holes from behind the toilet like they Ninja Turtles. Okay, listen, you know you are some kind of incompetent when some some ignorant prisoners can escape on your watch through a hole in the wall and then write you a note that says, two, not T-O-O, but two, T-O easy. Now, it would have been real bad if they typed T-W-O, but listen, they got a little bit of education while they was on lockdown. Too easy. If that doesn't embarrass you enough to be like, you know what, I'm going to resign, I don't know what will. But in true orangutan fashion, they can be, because they can't manage their misery, because they can't be held accountable for anything. Did you really think after that jailbreak, somebody like her, a DEI hire, would have a little humility and say, you know what, I'm a little bit in over my head. I don't think managing a correctional facility is in my top 10 things of skill sets that I'm good at. I'm a step out and bow out. No, they are too prideful and too arrogant to put the needs of the people and those that they've been called to serve, to put them first. No, they gonna ride the wave to the end. You got to drag them out, kicking and screaming, talk about it's racist and y'all are sexist and I didn't do nothing wrong. You gotta be some kind of incompetent to have 10 ignorant inmates between the 10 of them. Nobody has sense enough to be like, Taquayshawn, you need to put another O on that two, because see the difference between two and two. One's a number. One means in addition to, and also, one's a number, TWO. Two, that's more like a conjunction. It kind of connects one thing to the other, and then TOO means like don't even worry about it, Tay. Tay, just don't. I can't explain it. Like Taquayshawn, like why need an extra O? Why we duplicating letters? And then Jaquarius is too busy trying to explain it. And in the meantime, they like, look, either we gonna be free and escape through this hole or not. And then they like forget the extra O. Let's just go. That's what happened. You have to be some kind of incompetent to have 10 ignorants escape on your watch that can't spell. They can't even spell the basics. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. I can't. Y'all, I promise you, I wasn't going to cover this because I was like, this is just too sick, silly and ignorant to cover. But yet here we are. Here we are. So y'all, let's talk about the indictment. We got to talk about the indictment because I guess at this point, it was nothing else. There was nothing left else to do but to indict this woman. Susan Hutson, reportedly, she's been indicted on 30 felony counts. Y'all, 30. And the list is so wild. Let me tell you what's on this list. You have malfeasance in office. Okay. You have the false records allegations. You have obstruction related allegations, conspiracy allegations. And then this woman allegedly ignored all of the repeated warnings and the systemic failures. Y'all, listen carefully because this matters. I know a lot of people are overly sensitive and they're like, April, video after video, all you do is rag on the blacks. All you do is talk about the blacks. The issue here, it ain't even race. It's not even gender. The issue here is incompetence. Say it with me, boys and girls. Incompetence. That is the issue. I am honest, y'all, I am tired of watching Democrats weaponize identity, your immutable characteristics. All they do is weaponize it every time one of their failures implodes. All of a sudden now, it's because she's a woman. It's because she's black. It's because they're gay. Well, that's not an immutable attribute. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. Here's the point. If a conservative white male sheriff had presided over this level of chaos, we would never be able to live it down. The media would call him a threat to democracy by lunchtime. CNN would have a whole countdown clock. MSNBC would bring in 12, a whole panel of psychologists and a race hustler. Okay, I don't know, Shabazz Muhammad Nzinga the third or something like that. Anytime these progressives have DEI leadership that fails, suddenly everybody gets quiet. Suddenly, all of a sudden, now we need nuance, right? Now it's not as simple as it looks because it's complicated. No, it's actually very simple. It is so simple, even a 2-year-old can understand it. When you put somebody in a critical leadership role and they've not been equipped for that responsibility, you're expecting the public. We're the ones that have to pay the price now. I don't think so. No, ma'am, no, sir. DEI is so not compassionate. I know this is a trigger for the blacks because you've been told that DEI is the compassionate way to right a wrong from the past. Yeah, well, it sounds compassionate until reality actually shows up. See, y'all don't understand. The real leadership, you have to have standards. But under the DEI paradigm, DEI ideology teaches you, no, forget the standards. You've got to prioritize the identity over the excellence. That is the dangerous point. You have fields such as law enforcement, such as aviation, such as medicine and the military and education and public safety. I do not care what somebody looks like. I don't care who they sleeping with. I don't care about any of that. I want the best person to fly the plane. I want the best surgeon working on my brain and operating on my body. I want the best officer protecting the streets, the best sheriff to run the jail. This obsession with all of this representation over qualified beings, it is destroying the institutions that make this country function and run well. And if we're just going to be honest, a lot of these progressive leaders, they're selected because criticizing them becomes socially dangerous. So they use the identity as a shield. They hide behind it because if you question them, oh, you're just a racist. Here you go, you and your white privilege and your white supremacist enablement. Or if you ain't a white supremacist, now you're sexist. You're so hateful. And why are you so intolerant? No, I don't care what you call me. You can call me everything but a child of God in an elephant suit, and it's not going to change the facts. Sometimes people are just simply bad at their jobs. Okay? And adults, the adults in the room should be able to be mature enough to say that out loud. I don't know what's wrong with you people, but when the righteous increase, the people rejoice. But when wicked people rule, the people are groaning. And now the people of New Orleans, they've been groaning for a long time because all of this disorder. The disorder is happening because it's following the weak leadership. That's how it always works. It always works that way. And so I'm going to wrap it up here. Here's the overarching point. In America, at some point, we have got to decide, do we want functioning institutions, or we're going to be like Europe and just demand emotional symbolism. Because I don't want to be Europe. We've got to decide, do we want safety? Or are we more comfortable with the slogans and the symbolism, right? Like, do you want competence, or you just want to curate these diversity photos because it looks good, right? You want your campaign brochure. See, look how diverse we are. This experiment is failing, and it's failing miserably. And what's crazy is the same people who blame and who want to lecture us endlessly about equity. They can't even keep the inmates inside the building. I'm sorry. This is worse than a parody. It's worse than a parody. And honestly, I think Americans, y'all talking about black fatigue, Americans are just exhausted on a myriad of levels, okay? We are exhausted from watching every institution become this ideological daycare center that's run by these activists who are pretending to be administrators. We're like, can we get some standards again? Just some regular, plain old standards. Can we get some of those back? Can we get some accountability again? That's all we're asking for. It's not much. We just want y'all to stop hiring people primarily because they check some sort of demographic box. That is unjust. That is institutional suicide. We don't care about diversity no more. We're just like, find the best people for the job and let the chips fall where they're made. And if you feel it ain't enough representation in there, then you go get the skill set needed and then you compete. Just go compete. But I need to calm down. Anyway, y'all, drop me your thoughts below. I'm curious to hear from you. Do you believe the DEI practices that we've been under for the past couple of years, do you think it's damaging our public institutions, right? Like, do you think that competence, for whatever reason, well, we know why, but it's now become so politically offensive in America that the thought that you need to be competent to get a job is now become unthinkable. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I had fun doing it. This one was a piece of work. I mean, she was just a royal screw up if I ever met one. And a ratchetang of the worst kind. Just can't forget managing her misery. She couldn't even just do her job well. How you let that many inmates just a hole behind the toilet? That's embarrassing. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Listen, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Share this with somebody who still believes that all of these historic firsts, they don't automatically equal successful leadership. Until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.